Welcome to the San Jose Hockey Now podcast. I'm Sheng Peng, editor-in-chief of San Jose Hockey Now. You can also find my work at NBC Sharks on Twitter, Sheng_Peng, Blue Sky, Sheng Peng, and find us on Instagram, San Jose Hockey Now.
I'm Keegan McNally. You can find me on Twitter at halfwall_hockey, my website half-wallhockey.com, or at San Jose Hockey Now.
All right. I'm Zubair. You can find me at San Jose Ice Division II Beer League.
Nice. Saturdays, Fridays.
Friday nights.
Friday
upstairs
nights.
at Stanley's. All right.
Before we get to the show, though, a quick word from our sponsor, Bring Hockey Back, bringhockeyback.net. I am wearing one of their shirts today. I'm wearing the Mackle one in respect for our episode today. Keegan, I don't see your shirt. Where's your shirt?
I wanted to, I grabbed a nice sweater. I've got the AC turned down to frosty, so I was like, every time I'm in this room, I get cold. So got the sweater on.
But Bring Hockey Back, bringhockeyback.net. So they make awesome T-shirts, awesome Sharks themed T-shirts. I believe you can still buy this Macklin T-shirt, Mac Attack, and Joe Thornton, Director of Vibes T-shirt on there. I gotta double check if you can still buy it, but go take a look. But anything else they have on there? Any other T-shirts, apparel? Also, they make custom hockey jerseys, great hockey jerseys for any kind of event, for your beer league, for a corporate event. And you can use the coupon code San Jose Hockey Now for 15% off of anything in the store. Coupon code San Jose Hockey Now. So go to Bring Hockey Back, bringhockeyback.net.
So do I got to use a coupon code or am I going to get a shirt here?
I don't know. Yeah.
Honestly, I didn't expect to get a shirt, and then they just kept sending me shirts. So you'll probably get one if you gave Sheng your address.
It might be over budget, so you and Keegan might have to fight over the spare shirts. So.
What size are you, Keegan?
They sent me a beer koozie, which I still have and I use. They sent me a bunch of stickers. Like, you're gonna get some swag, man.
I'm just joking. Yeah, we'll get Zubair on the swag train. So.
Yeah, there you go. I'm going matte black until we figure it out.
Yeah, right. You're in protest. You better sell.
Exactly. All right, so we got some fun stuff to talk about today. I mean, Vlasic buyout, should Pavelski's jersey be retired, SAP agreement, so lots of things, as well as Keegan, your thoughts on Hlinka. So let's get started right at the top of that list.
Yeah, but the main topic, though, that we're going to talk about today is what are the Sharks' kind of young guns? What are they working on this summer? So this was a topic idea that Zubair thought of, and so I kind of dug in on it. So what's Macklin working on this summer? What is Will Smith working on this summer? What is William Eklund working on this summer? And so we'll get to that at the very end of the show. And there's some interesting stuff that I have found out digging around, talking to people. And so stay tuned for that.
Yeah, we learned that Celebrini's, learning piano. It's
yes.
Will Smith is taking French. Who knew?
What is Eki doing?
Yeah, Eki, oh man, he solely focused on hockey. There's no extracurriculars for William.
That's funny. All right, well, start at the top.
Vlasic.
Yeah,
because I was pretty stunned about this. I don't know about you guys. Like,
I was pretty stunned as well.
Yeah, I read the quote and like the multiple quotes that he had, and the weird thing is, like, this keeps happening in some ways. I feel like we keep getting these, like, once a player leaves San Jose, they say something crappy about the management. Like that happened with Martin Kaut, that happened with Marc-Édouard Vlasic, that happened with Nikolai Kovalenko. Like, I don't know, like, maybe we need to do a little bit more digging on, like, what's going on here, or Vlasic just has some sour grapes and he has some right to be, I think, I guess.
Let's update people a little bit of what was said, just really briefly. So the Sharks bought out Marc-Édouard Vlasic at the end of June. It was a little bit of a surprise, I think, just because he had just 1 year left and the Sharks had they had just strung it out for so long, and Sharks did not need a cap space. So this was not a cap space decision. And so it was a little surprised that they did buy him out. When I asked Mike Greer about it, I think I was the one who asked him a couple of days later after free agency. Mike Greer was like, "Oh yeah, Mark took it really well. He's a pro." Actually, to quote Mike Greer, I think he understood where we are at as an organization and the decisions that we have to make as far as roster construction. So he handled it really well, very professional. It's not something I'm surprised by. He's a class act. This was, I believe, July 1st, 2nd, something like that. And so anyway, Marc-Édouard Vlasic, though, about a month and a half later at some kind of tournament, maybe a golf tournament in Quebec. These are comments translated by the Mercury News. So Mark said this in French. So anyway, the couple of quotes that Zubair and Keegan are referring to is a couple of the key ones are, they told me, this was in Marc-Édouard Vlasic's talking about his exit interview in April. They told me that I played well, especially defensively, and that they liked that I was a mentor to the young guys. They told me they wanted me to do that next year. So when I left, I thought I'd come back. This is about mid-April. And at the very end, Mark says, I still have a residence in San Jose. It would have been honest of them to tell me right after the season. Now I have a lot of things to think about. I think he's referring to just the house and things like that, just kind of real life kind of stuff. So anyway, so that's just kind of a recap of Vlasic's, Pickle's sourness, right? And
that was pretty good.
So, I agree with you, Keegan, that Mark has something to be upset about. The way I see it is, I think it's very believable that Mike Grier did not know in mid-April that he was going to buy out Marc-Édouard Vlasic. So that's a little bit like for Vlasic to kind of say that, like, hey, if you knew, then you should have told me. I don't know this as a fact. This I haven't like checked in with the Sharks or sources there, but I would guess that at that moment they don't know yet. But I would say that between mid-April to June 26th or whenever the buyout happened, that they knew before June 26th. This is not a decision that I don't think they arrived on this decision on June 25th. I would find that very unlikely, at least, unless somebody is going to prove me wrong, which is, again, it's possible. I don't know for a fact, but I think realistically, though, they knew sometime between mid-April and June, and they should have told Mark immediately when they decided, whatever that was. And that is shitty. Mark, I know a lot of people are mad about, he declined the last 4 years. He was taking money from the Sharks, big contract, didn't pan out. I get that. I'll talk about the other side of it, that Mark's game has declined quite a bit, obviously, that he probably shouldn't have been on an NHL roster. Yeah, arguably, like the last year or so, for like, I would say the last year or two, maybe. I thought he was actually okay a couple of years ago, this first year under David Quinn, but then it took another drop again, his game. But anyway, the point, though, is that for a guy who's done so much for your franchise, is your games played leader for a defenseman that spent his entire career with the Sharks, that you got to let him know as soon as possible. Yeah. And it's not the buyout window. That's not. I do agree that wasn't respectful. And I'll talk about the other point that I have about his game, because there are points where, like, I do see that there's kind of some sour grapes here too, in my opinion. But anyway, I don't know what you guys think about that.
I agree. I think that, just think about it from any job. You want to, if you're on the way out, you want some proactive communication from your managers, right? And it sounds like here there wasn't any of that, and he had this expectation. And to your point, Sheng, like, you could have just talked to him earlier, like, hey, this is what we're planning on doing, depending on, the roster makeup and who we bring in here and some of the youngsters we want, and just have that proactive communication. But it seemed like it completely took him by surprise.
Yeah. I think it'd be strange, though, I guess, like, if Mike Grier had said in his exit interview, there's a chance we could buy you out. It almost seems like, hey, we're going to buy you out. Like, it feels like, if there's a chance, they probably are going to do it. I don't know. I think it's very telling that there's just this whole, like, there's this disconnect, right? Like, Mike Grier is clearly saying in his statement, oh yeah, he took it great, he took it fine, he's a pro. And then a month and a half later, Pickles is like,
fuck that.
Like, I don't know. It's all pro sports and, like, different management styles, but there's been some kind of stuff like this. I wonder if this is a theme or just some newness, maybe, with Mike Grier as a GM. Like, he's done a fantastic job, as we all know. Like, He's made some great trades. He's rebuilt this franchise into what is hopefully going to be a contender, and like he deserves all the credit in the world for that for right now. But yeah, they think that we keep hearing these things, so I don't know. It's not my place to speak on it, but interesting.
Yeah, I don't really tie in Count and Kovalenko to this Vlasic thing. They feel like it's a very different thing. Count and Kovalenko are two younger players who thought that they deserved more, and they were grumpy about it. I mean, I guess Vlasic, but Vlasic's not a younger player. I think this case, though, is more similar to. I'm not saying that there aren't communication problems with the Sharks. Like, and I've reported on this before that that Mike and David Quinn, they weren't getting along a lot by the end. That's a one example of it. Vlasic in this case, again, like there might be something there. I do also want to reference though that in our last podcast with Todd Diamond, he talked about how Mike has improved. And I think one of the things that Todd is referring to is in terms of communication and things like that. So maybe there is an improvement in general with Mike, but that maybe there was a gap here with Vlasic. It's hard to say. I mean, maybe Vlasic did take it well when they talked. We weren't there for that conversation, so I don't want to call Mike like maybe Mike is reporting accurate. That's what Mike saw that Vlasic was taking it well, but I'm just kind of trying to look at it from just realistically, like from mid-April to the end of June, that they must have had some inkling in between, even enough of inkling to be like Mark actually said, like if you're thinking about it, let me know too. And so and that could have been in mid-May, who knows? But just like give him a call up his agent, say, hey, this is kind of. And who knows, right? We don't even know. We're taking Marc-Édouard Vlasic's word on this. Maybe the Sharks did do that, and Mark is still unhappy about it. But assuming that everybody's kind of like what they're saying publicly is there's some truth to it, that there wasn't that communication from between mid-April to June. That is fucked up. That's disrespectful. Again, let's not confuse the decline of Marc-Édouard Vlasic's career to treating him with the full respect that he deserves for all the years of service, all the years of great play, all the great memories, and all that kind of stuff. But I did want to address that part of it, though. I guess moving it forward a little bit. That Mark talks about in I think one of the translations, I think he said in another this one I haven't checked, or I think it's the same interview, but he said something like, "Oh yeah, I think I didn't want to come back anyway." I mean, you gotta be honest about this. With Vlasic, right? No one has signed him. There's a reason why. If Vlasic was a kind of a prize free agent acquisition, he would have been signed July 1st, July 2nd, July 3rd, pretty quickly, because everyone needs a good veteran defenseman, right? Mark's game has declined quite a bit from what I've seen as a non-professional observer, from scouts that I talk to who are professional observers, from you guys at home watch. We've all seen the same thing, basically. And so for him to say that does seem like sour grapes, because you're talking about, well, yeah, I don't know if I want to come back to a place that didn't want me. And we're not seeing, obviously, that demand for him out there, that the Sharks made some grand mistake, right? I mean, even with a Kovalenko, too, you talk about, right? Kovalenko was free and clear to sign anywhere. No one wanted him, probably because no one wants a talented but not that talented 25-year-old bitching to the press about the coach hating Russians. No one wants that on their team. That's just not a formula for success. And so in the case of Vlasic here, that does seem like sour grapes. Maybe we'll be wrong. It's certainly possible that Vlasic can sign a PTO somewhere. And then maybe he'll show us in camp that, hey, it's just that my team sucks. Now I'm on a better team. I can show my game again. I hope so. I like dealing with Mark overall over the years. There's up and downs with that, but Mark and I personally, we came to a really good place because he loves dogs and I love dogs, and so we had that in common. So I like Mark, and so I hope it works out for him. But in terms of what I saw on the ice and what I think it seems like most of the rest of the league has seen, that I'm not sure what he's gonna do in the NHL next year, if he is even in the NHL next year.
I get it. I bet he gets a PTO, and stays through training camp but doesn't get a contract, and then
That would be a pretty good.
I bet he gets to I don't know, New Jersey. Let's go with that. I'm gonna say PTO to New Jersey. I agree. I think everybody can kind of see that he was not worth the money for a couple of years for sure. And it's a little strange because he's one of the obviously the last guys that brings you back to the Sharks of old, right? The good Sharks. And it sucks that it's kind of ends on this note because you want him to be happy with his time in San Jose and maybe even later on in his career come back because he is, still obviously a great hockey player and lots of good memories in San Jose with him. But yeah, so kind of sad, but I don't know. That's all I got.
I think that sums it up pretty well, and a good transition to, another old Shark who we love, who's given us tons of great memories, Joe Pavelski. So obviously, to the next point of, should Joe Pavelski's jersey be retired? We're talking about this because, Joe Pavelski on the Dropping the Gloves podcast with John Scott, interviewing Eklund, said that, he might be coming back to San Jose for a Joe Pavelski retirement, which Sheng, you obviously refuted with some research. So first, for sure, confirm no jersey retirement.
Yeah, no jersey retirement next year. I don't even know if there are plans for that, to be honest. But the point, though, for sure, is that there's none next year. So I'm not sure what John was doing there. but yeah,
I guess.
Yeah, and then I think if you just look at it practically, because when I first heard the interview with Eklund, and I heard John say that, but I thought I just didn't seem to. It didn't make sense to me. That's why I didn't report on, because I just thought, no, this doesn't even make sense to me, because they've already released their promo schedule. Why would they not include that in their promo schedule? That's just stupid. That's poor marketing.
Yeah.
and I know the NHL they're not great marketers. We're not that stupid, though. They're not going to miss a chance to advertise one of their bigger nights of the season in the schedule release. They did that with Joe Thornton last year. They announced that with the schedule release because you want maximum exposure. Hey, we are retiring Joe Thornton. Get your tickets now. And that was the hottest ticket of the season last year. So that didn't even make any sense to me in the first place, that that would even be kept under wraps. The other part of it, and this is, I guess, what we'll debate briefly, I guess, just because the topic is here. John Scott has brought it to our doorstep in terms of, should Joe Pavelski's jersey be retired? And my initial take is no. And the way I look at it, you have those two jerseys that are up there, Patrick Marleau and Joe Thornton. And I think that there's a combination of longevity, success, and how beloved those two players are that no one else can match on the Sharks. I don't think so, right? All those three factors. And if you include Joe in there, and Joe is definitely beloved, and he did play a long time for the Sharks, and he was very successful for the Sharks. So none of this is a discredit to what Joe Pavelski did for the franchise. But I feel like if you put Pavelski up there, then you start to need to think about a lot of other people that are in that range, very much in that range. And now we're talking Owen Nolan, the Sharks' first star. We're talking Evgeny Nabokov. We're talking Brent Burns. We're talking Marc-Édouard Vlasic. And then you start to include all these names up there. And now you retired I've thrown in 5 names that I feel are Pavelski-ish caliber. Even Logan Couture. And yeah, you can say, oh, I love Joe more. Well, I can guarantee you I can find you a lot of Sharks fans that love Owen Nolan. Like, that was their first guy, right? Or Sharks fans that love Nabby or whatever, right? Maybe Vlasic doesn't have the same love, but he played longer than anybody. Brent Burnsy, the Sharks, maybe their first kind of all-around superstar in terms of the media. Everybody knows them, the beard, all that kind of stuff, right? Even more than Jumbo, maybe, Brent Burns. So anyway, the point of all this is that I feel like the bar is really high with Thornton and Marleau.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the bar should stay. If you include Pavelski, again, no discredit to him, but that lowers the bar from the Thornton and Marleau bar. And if you include all these names I've just mentioned, like 4 or 5, 6 names, Sharks have won 0 championships with these guys. This isn't the Yankees. This isn't the Lakers where you can reasonably retire like 11, 12, 10 jerseys. The Lakers have like 5 statues. I think they're including one for Pat Riley. They have like 5 statues outside of Staples Center, which sounds stupid. 5 Lakers with statues outside of outside of Staples Center or Crypto.com Arena. But if you know anything about basketball, Shaq, Kobe, Elgin Baylor, Jerry West, Chick Hearn, now Pat Riley. You can't really argue with it because all those guys brought championships or they were trailblazing players or et cetera, right? And trailblazing players, not just like for the Lakers, but for the NBA, for the league. And it's to me, it's kind of like, it's again, I'm not trying to discredit Joe, and the Sharks should have brought him back. I've seen that a lot in the comments. Of course, they should have brought him back. We know this, right? But I feel like I just think he doesn't quite make it for that significant of an honor. This is my opinion. Not a fan, so maybe you guys might love Pav more, but that's my thought.
Yeah, I would say I agree, Sheng. But if I was going to say if there was any point for it, is there a delineation between is any of the players that you mentioned with Vlasic's category of Sharks that could potentially get it between Nolan and Vlasic, maybe even Burns on that list, right? I see Pavelski, cut just a little differently than them and I think about through the lens of who has the highest potential of being a Hall of Famer. And I think that if I was going to think about it through that lens, I see Pavelski with most goals in the postseason from an American-born player, which is interesting. Over 1,000 games played, great leadership qualities. I see him as a higher likelihood of making it as a Hall of Famer than the rest of those guys.
Maybe Burns has a higher chance though.
Maybe Burns.
He had the Norris
for sure. Norris, multiple Norris finalists too.
So he might have a higher chance. I think this is, but it's a good comparison. It's like the Hall of Very Good versus the Hall of Fame. I think if you're going to be retiring guys, they should be pretty set Hall of Famers, or they did something absolutely spectacular for your franchise, even if they weren't a Hall of Famer, right? If somebody was just super good for 2 years and won you a Stanley Cup or 2, or something like that. I don't know. But there should be the bar, and Marleau and Jumbo I agree with Sheng. My heart of hearts, I agree. It's too high of a bar that even Pavelski, Vlasic, Brent Burns, my favorite player in the world, Scott Hannon, doesn't meet.
Wow, way to include a family member in there. The nepotism going on the San Jose hockey.
But it's your favorite player. It's it doesn't matter. There has to be a certain bar, and Pavelski probably doesn't meet it. Even though, if I think of a clutch performer, it's Couture because his playoff performance is amazing. And B, Pavelski because he wills himself to win games sometimes, and he's one of the few Sharks that did that consistently. So,
yeah, absolutely. No, I agree with you guys.
Probably not a jersey retirement coming for Pavs, but
I'll say though, if it fetches him a job in the front office and attracts him back, give it to him.
That's a fair point.
For the optics, right? If he comes back and helps with player development, I'll take that any day.
Hell yeah. It is a great story, right? He's such a good guy, and just it's the ultimate hockey sense argument, right? Not a high draft pick, not a big player, not a fast player, just the smartest guy on the ice sometimes. So
his hockey IQ and ability to find a way to be relevant in this league consistently, that Stanley Cup run that he had with the Dallas Stars. Yeah. Oh my God. I think he led the playoffs in goals that season.
I think he did. Yeah, I think the playoffs. Yeah,
he was incredible, and that's after even Sharks management and Doug Wilson, for which he's apologized, was we're not resigning. He saw probably him on the decline, and he's like, I'll show you.
Yeah,
and it's anything that he learns. Look at his golf game. He's just
he's ridiculous.
A professional. He learns how to be great at whatever he chooses to do. And that's significant leadership. Again, isolated from retiring his number, but just
Sure.
Pavelski as a great player in person.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think like if you're to pick like all these names to start a team, who is going to be your captain, even throwing Thornton and Marleau out there, you might make Pavelski like your number 1 or 2 pick just because like you just need a captain, right? Even if he's not as like impactful on the ice player as Thornton or Marleau, but the off the ice stuff, all that kind of stuff. But one interesting thing though, listening to you guys talk about is like maybe this is a good definition, but not every team exercises this. But maybe a good definition of whether or not players should have his jersey retired is if his career just with you is Hall of Fame worthy. Mm-hmm. And if Joe Thornton only played for the Sharks, I think he would still make the Hall of Fame. Not the first ballot guy, but he would still make the Hall of Fame. Patrick Marleau, obviously, most of his success was with the Sharks, and he's not in the Hall of Fame yet, but he's gonna make it eventually. And everyone else, though, like Joe Pavelski's resume was obviously buffed up in Dallas. And Brent Burns, actually, there's an argument that maybe just because he was so impactful in that like 3, 4, 5 years under Peter DeBoer, where Brent was in his prime, he might make it just based on his San Jose career. He's actually there's an argument for Brent there too, more so than Pavelski and Nabokov and guys who won't make the Hall of Fame and like Nabokov and Couture and Vlasic. So that's just a thought. Obviously, not every team exercises that. I mean, I think the Kings, they retired Dustin Brown's jersey.
Yeah, exactly. So, that's what I mean. Like, so if your guy just does something that wins you multiple cups, like Dustin Brown, maybe that's fine.
Right. Just a thought.
Yeah. Sharks are in an interesting spot because they just don't have that level of success.
Yeah. Also, like I'm going to look up these stats later, but I wonder what Burnsy's drop off in apples were after Pavelski left because he was just tipping those pucks in all the time for him.
Fair. That's probably pretty high. Although I think he still had a good season with with Carlson and stuff too.
Yeah. Well, the last season, 2018-19, that was also the Sharks' last playoff appearance, Pavelski's last season with the Sharks, and Burns scored 80 plus points. He was a Norris finalist that year. But then after Pavelski left, I don't think it's a direct correlation because Burns dropped to like a 50-point player. He didn't lose 30 points because Pavelski left. That's a little bit much.
No, yeah.
But the entire team declined, though, right?
Sure.
And we saw in Carolina that the Burns was still a very, valid, excellent player. But maybe he wasn't the Brent Burns of old. There's a whole lot of factors there. But,
yeah, of course.
Oh, we get to see Brent Burns with Colorado this year. I forgot about that.
That'll be interesting.
That's gonna be fun. I bet he eats up minutes.
Yeah.
Like they just he gets higher in the lineup. He's still got juice in there.
I agree. Yeah, I think he's still a good player.
Gushin assisted by Burnsy.
Now we're thinking over under 40 points for Daniil Gushin is where we set the line at.
In the AHL or NHL?
In the AHL. I was so I do tons and tons of fantasy hockey. And there's a website called Lineup Experts, which is a very in-depth fantasy hockey or fantasy whatever, baseball, hockey, football thing, and it gives you projections for the seasons and stuff. And Gushin had like, I don't know, it was like 35-point projection or something. And I was like, no way. You don't give me hope. don't even. Yeah.
See ya, Keegan, Colorado Hockey Now.
Yeah, exactly.
See ya.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I gotta let my guy at Colorado Hockey Now know that if you need it's a scouting report on Gushin, just go to my guy Keegan. So pump some air in those tires.
If there was one person who's probably watched him outside of the actual scouting world, it's me. I've watched too much Daniil Gushin in my life.
All right.
Anyway,
so
let's move on.
Yeah. So moving on. Obviously, big news. Sharks and SAP Center agreement with the city of San Jose. Obviously going to get to voting. Sheng, you got a great piece out on it. Let's go to you for some of your thoughts on the memorandum.
Yeah, just some very quick bullet points from it. If you guys aren't aware, it's on the website too. I I scanned, I think it was like a 16-page memorandum. I double checked with people too that my reading was accurate of it, and they said it was accurate. And so I'm also a pretty good speed reader too, so I'll say that for myself. But anyway, so the basics of this are that so the city and the Sharks have agreed, but this agreement has to go to city council, so it's not finalized. So I want to make that clear. So when you say agreement, people think, oh, it's done. So it's almost done, but it's not done yet. And the city council will vote for it on August 26th. So the basics of this is if this agreement passes, the Sharks will they will stay in San Jose through the 2050-51 season. That's 25 years. The city of San Jose and the Sharks will share the cost of a $425 million renovation at SAP Center over the next decade. And one of the curious things here that I didn't know or wasn't aware of before they released this memorandum is that by September 2027, the city and the Sharks will agree to a new arena location and district plan, though the details about that are nebulous. So when this was kind of first talked about in May, I think Mayor Matt Mahan of San Jose, he talked about it at a city event that, the Sharks are here to stay. We're close to agreement, right? The way that I understood it, and I may have understood this wrong, so this might be on me for kind of reporting it incorrectly, that meant that the Sharks would stay at SAP Center through 2050-51. Now, if you read that agreement, though, and if you just the bullet point summary that I just gave to you, it doesn't make sense, right? If you think about it, for the Sharks and the city to agree on a new arena location by 2027 and for the Sharks to move in 2051, 24 years later. So that doesn't make sense. So there's something that I'm not sure about yet, which they haven't really discussed, but that it could be that the renovation at SAP Center is sort of just to get it up to sort of standard. Because if you read the memorandum, there's a lot of talk about how it's not, SAP Center is substandard compared to other arenas. And so that might just be keeping it up to standard as they buy time to build a new arena somewhere else in San Jose. Or it could be something like, this is just me spitballing, I don't know this for a fact, but because the location at SAP Center, if you guys are residents of San Jose, that's a pretty good location. It's close to Caltrain. Eventually, hopefully one day to get BART down here. Anyway, it's close to a lot of public transportation. It's close to the freeways. It's a good place for arena, and it's a good place for a arena district, right? Like an LA Live kind of thing. So what they could also do, which I don't know this for a fact, but also makes sense to me, is that this is also like a chance for them. Maybe they, in agreement, it's very clear that they say that like SAP Center, it's not tenable for them to stay there. I think they say very clearly, like past 2050, right? But basically the idea that I'm thinking is that like after they do these kind of necessary renovations, that maybe they knock it down within a few years of completing the renovations, and then they build a new arena on site. That's how I kind of read it. That the location may be fine still, but they need to build a new building and infrastructure, and so maybe this sort of just buys time for them to figure it out. And then of course there's a question then if the Sharks do knock down SAP Center, which again is entirely my speculation. But if the city and the Sharks do that, then the Sharks will obviously need to play somewhere temporarily for a couple of years. I don't know where that is. Again, we're talking like a good decade from now. But that's how I put all this together, that I think the point of this agreement is just to keep the Sharks in San Jose till 2051, no question, no matter what. And you need to get SAP Center just up to standard, because SAP Center is I think they said it was the oldest non-major renovated arena in the league, which I believe is correct, because MSG and the Saddle Dome are older, but MSG has obviously had like $1 billion facelift. Saddle Dome, I think, is having a facelift like this year or something. They've also had a major renovation. This might also explain too, because one of the things personally when I looked at this was I looked at that $425 million total, and I thought, well, like, yeah, that's a lot of money, but like, MSG's number is $1 billion. Like, that's the kind of figure that you if you're going to stay somewhere, stay in that infrastructure, you put that kind of money into it. Maybe I thought, well, that 400 million seems kind of low, and maybe again that's why it's low, because it's a kind of a holding. It's basically just to keep SAP Center competitive while they figure out exactly where they want to put the new arena. Is it on the site of SAP Center? Is it somewhere else? I don't know. Some of this is just pure speculation on my part, but I think the overall takeaway, if this passes, and it should pass, the mayor expects it to pass, and I don't get signals from the Sharks that there's too much worry about this passing, that the Sharks are here to stay in San Jose till 2050-51. I just don't know if it's going to be a SAP Center, like as we know it, but.
No, that's good points. And I think they have the renovations are spread out over 7 years. Is that correct?
Yeah, something like that, over a decade, basically.
Yeah, they're doing it in the off season, so what they can get done. And yeah, I realized also that like some of the things are not up to code, like having the opposing team walk across, so they have to restructure the entire basement.
I love that, because I always when I watched from the press box, I was like, who's a man? Who's going to walk across the ice like a man?
Yeah,
who's going to hang along the boards?
That's a lot.
Exactly.
That's how I always judge the ballsiness of the visiting coaches, what they did.
Yeah. And also renovated press area. I saw that on there, which Schenger's is pretty great.
Press area? I didn't see that.
I think that's in there.
I don't know if that's in there. I was looking for that. Okay, maybe it's in there. I might have missed that.
Yeah. But
Sheng
that'd be nice.
After the word press immediately and couldn't find it.
Exactly.
It's like, where's my free snacks? Am I getting luxury chairs?
Well, in fairness to me, like if you guys have been up to the press box at SAP Center, a lot of the views are obstructed, and that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
There's like beams.
There's a lot of beams.
Yeah, in a way, in certain seats. Not for my seat, but just in general, it's just kind of a silly thing. But
yeah. And then to your point, I don't know if they're gonna take down SAP and rebuild in the same area. When Google's Downtown West project has been talked about in San Jose, I know there was a lot of talk about more livelihood around, and I think Nashville's like a great idea of that, like where the arena's like right in downtown, you can get out and they want more of that kind of environment. And so I think Diridon or North Montgomery, there's some other areas, because I think it has to be about 12 acres is what I was reading too. And so that allows a couple of possibilities in downtown, closer to nightlife, like downtown core edge parcels. And obviously Google construction is scaled down from what they were expecting, but I'm just theorizing here, but I think it's going to be a different location, if not just across the street, where then they can build more retail and other experiences around it. But to your point, I think, likely that's going to get done, after these renovations, and then maybe they won't have to play anywhere. They play at SAP, then they go over, then they tear down SAP.
Good point.
So there won't be any turnover.
Yeah.
It's kind of what I read into.
That's an interesting point, because I don't go to SAP Center very frequently. If I can get out there once every 2 years, I'm happy about it, or once every couple of years, right?
Yeah.
But when I was there last, I was like, it is like just disconnected. Like it doesn't feel like it's part of a city, whereas obviously places that are MSG and Boston's arena, like they're in the city, right? Even like the AHL arena here in Providence is like in the city, right next to the biggest mall in Providence, and it's like, you kind of feel like a little disconnected, I think, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. And now that sort of Alameda's developed a little bit towards that Whole Foods, like half people move there, the other half is dispersed. And it's like you got Henry's High Life, and that's it. Like that's the only closest spot, which is kind of tucked away in the back. And to your point, I think it's fun for the fans, even where you get out and you could pregame, you could go after, it's just a greater fan experience.
Got it made in the shade for sure.
They're definitely the model for how it should be done. So there's a couple of places, I think, downtown core edge parcels. I was just kind of doing some research on where you could get 12 acres in downtown that's better located. And I think those are the top three I came up with, Autumn Parkway corridor and Diridon area, obviously, which Google tends to redo anyways, is more of a Grand Central Union Station type thing. And I think you could have retail, have a great like opportunity to like have some restaurants and other experiences around the arena, which would make it more fun for everybody. And there's also that park right across from SAP that's just like kind of dismal and empty and just like drab. And I'm like, they need to develop this, just for fans. So I think I'm hoping at least that, this is all in the works, and Sharks have a really great arena when the team's really good too, which would be fun.
Yeah, I want to mention too that I think Zubair has really great insight on this because he's a lifelong San Jose resident. I've only lived in San Jose for 2 years. Keegan lives in Rhode Island. But
never lived in California in my life. So.
But anyway, though, actually, you bring up actually an interesting point that maybe the parking lot across from SAP Center where it's like Diridon parking. I don't know who owns that. Maybe you do, but like that could be where you put the new arena, and then you're building that as they're still playing SAP Center. Then when that arena is ready to build, then you tear down SAP Center, turning it into arena district, parking, all those kind of things, right? And so that's a thought too. And then you mentioned 2 other areas. So where are those areas again?
So North Montgomery Autumn Parkway corridor. It's like 160 North Montgomery Street would be like there's like parking lots and parcels that the city is already acquiring. Near SAP Center. And so that allow for like a good phase transition.
Oh, okay. So that's still really close. That's like kind of close to like the Target there, right?
Yeah.
We're getting to really nitty-gritty San Jose now, but
yeah, exactly. And then I guess third one, like downtown core edge parcels. There's some parcels near Guadalupe River Park in the convention center. I think that's actually like a really feasible one. I mean, the hard sell on these things is selling the city, right? Like taxpayers never like, and I think that's probably to your point why they came to this price point as well, as like, because people, it's in any city where they develop like an entertainment center or an arena where it's like, well, taxpayers funding this, and that's like $1 billion. And so it'll be interesting when it gets to there, which is probably why they gave themselves the leeway to like 2051. They'll try to get it pushed, but that always, there's always going to be debate and bureaucracy in that processing. So, so I those are the 3 that I sort of just brainstormed when looking at this online.
Yeah. So my read then, and I don't know if this is your read too, since you looked into the different locations, that makes sense, but this agreement and the possibility, it is possible they stay at SAP Center until 2050-51. That it's like insurance solution in case just things can't get figured out or whatever for a new arena location, and Sharks have to play somewhere, and it has to be decent. And that's why you do these renovations. But again, like, if you look at that memorandum, it says very clearly that like at least at this point, that in this agreement, the Sharks and the city agree that it's not feasible to be at SAP Center as it is beyond 2051. So it's kind of like kicking the can down the road a little bit. Yeah.
And to your point, I think there was some, let me see if I can pull up the numbers, but there were some also contingencies of like, if the city bails out, you have to pay out some liquidation fees of like
the Sharks too. The Sharks
and the reverse as well.
Away.
Then they have to pay. It was both ways.
Yeah.
Obviously the Sharks have to pay a penalty if they bail, which was higher from what I read too. So it's all good news, right? Like I think this is a lot of positive stuff, and we'll see if city council, green lights this on the 26th, but like you said, I'm pretty confident they will, and that'll be good for Sharks fans. Sharks are staying in San Jose.
The next big long-term agreement the Sharks have to worry about is whether or not they can sign Macklin to 7 years.
Yeah. Does the new 7-year versus 8-year thing kick in before Macklin has to be?
Yeah, it kicks in next year, so that would be Macklin. So.
Yeah. Damn. Okay.
So no, you can't sign him for 8 years. So.
Damn it.
Yeah. Eklund was the last, I think, is going to be the last major Sharks kind of that could have signed that. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is like reminding me of a Freakonomics episode I listened to where they discussed the amenities at various NFL facilities and player attractiveness. And so also this is great stuff for attracting better players and, having good facilities. And one of the things they always actually talk about is how good that is ranked in the NFL. From what I remember was how well is the room for friends and families of players?
Oh, sure,
significantly really important of how they are they taken care of? Are they in the pit? Do they have a nice room to watch? And players actually really value that. So I wonder in this new rebuild, sort of as the plan sort of unfold, what they prioritize with, all this new research that we have on facility development.
There were complaints about this with the Barracuda that Keegan and I talked about a couple of years ago, just how the families were being treated. Fair or not, but that is really, really important, though.
Yeah, super important. So, all right. Well, good stuff all around. And so this brings us to Hlinka. Keegan, let's hear your thoughts. I'm excited.
Yeah. So first of all, the Hlinka is over. It ended yesterday. Sadly, I could not watch any of the medal games as I was at work. But I do have many thoughts about the upcoming draft eligibles. A couple more notes about the Hlinka that people may not know. It's typically like Canada's tournament, right? It's kind of like Canada is always in the final. It seems like they're always, gunning for gold. Most of the reason is because the USA doesn't bring their UNTDP kids. So they leave generally the best prospects at home from their group of draft eligibles. They play the World Junior Summer Showcase, or they use some of them in that tournament in the summer instead. So Canada really goes hard and brings like the best of the best, except for your highest echelon guys. Like Gavin McKenna wasn't there because he played in last year's Hlinka, and he's going to go first overall. And there was just not really a point for Gavin McKenna to be there. This is kind of the step down in terms of for him. So that's a couple things. Gavin McKenna wasn't there. He's still going first overall. There's no real change in that, probably. Things may change throughout the year, but the real interesting thing for the Sharks perspective is, if we get obviously the first overall pick, grab Gavin McKenna with both hands. But if we don't, there's like a ton of good defensemen this year. Actual top end, well, seemingly, right? This is August. Top end defensemen that I'm super excited about. We can start with Keaton Verhoeff if you guys want.
Yeah.
So Keaton Verhoeff, 6'4", right shot defenseman, which if you're familiar with the NHL GMs love 6'4" right shot defensemen that have good skating and good physicality. He's like Canada used him in this tournament as like the workhorse, right? Like he's all over the boards every shift, PK, power play, first line. He's the workhorse, right? And he owns that role, and he fulfills it really, really well. He reminds me of like an Alex Pietrangelo type number one defenseman, where you're never upset that he's on the ice. You're happy with a lot of stuff he does. He gets you 50, 60 points, 40, 60 points a year. He's physical. He owns his minutes. That's the kind of guy that I think NHL teams are going to see with Keaton Verhoeff. He's not like Cale Makar. He's not like Quinn Hughes, that kind of thing. He's not going to be – he might. You never know. Things change. But I think they're going to see more of that traditional stopping number one, where he's good at both ends and has – tons of talent, tons of skill, but obviously isn't like generational or anything like that.
Like a Victor Hedman if everything works out.
Yeah, that's a good comp. I think Hedman's probably still like a tier above, but like, yeah, you're never mad that Victor Hedman's on the ice. You're just like, that's the kind of guy that Keaton Verhoeff seems to be this year, as well as in the U18s. He was a 16-year-old playing in the U18s, that he was amazing in that tournament in May. So like he's going to have a monster year. And yeah, he kind of, I think they honestly overused him a little bit in this tournament. If you guys were unaware, that Canada didn't win, USA won this tournament, which is mind blowing.
USA.
Yeah. That was, I wish I could have watched it, but they just a really gutsy USA squad for sure, without a lot of their top talent. And looking at Canada's defense, it has Keaton Verhoeff, who's probably going to go number 2 or number 3 in this year's draft. Daxon Rudolph, who's probably going to go top 15. Ryan Lynn, who's probably going to go top 15.
These are all defensemen we're talking about.
These are all defensemen.
Are they all right-handed or?
Ryan Lynn. I think Daxon Rudolph is right-handed as well, if I remember right. Yes, he is. Wow. They're all right-handed. Ryan Lynn is smaller though. Ryan Lynn's like 6 foot tall. I'll talk about him in a second. And then they also had Landon DuPont, who's been in like the mix for the 2027 draft in the top 5 as well. So they had like a very stacked defense, and they still lost, which is interesting. People blame goaltending and all sorts of stuff, but anyway, if you're a Sharks fan, you're looking out for these like big names: Daxon Rudolph, Keaton Verhoeff, or Ryan Lynn. I think Ryan Lynn. I really like this player. He's not big, right? He's 6 foot or so, maybe like 5'11", 6 foot. But he is extremely good skater, very smart, super sound defensively. He reminds me of like we just talked about him. He reminds me of Vlasic. Like he just reminds me of a very good two-way defenseman. Again, you're not really bad that he's on the ice. Gets you an amazing, breakout. Has a bit of offensive talent, but there's like room to grow with that too. I really like him. He had a great tournament. I think he's gonna have a great year too. Who else? Ethan Belchetz. That's not a defenseman, but he was one of my like standouts from this tournament. Mm-hmm. He's a monster. He's like probably 6'5". Let me see what they have listed on. Yeah, he's 6'5", 227 pounds listed on Elite Prospects. He's a left winger, just a net front like animal with amazing hands. That like watching him at this tournament was like a man amongst boys. It felt like in a way that I think he's going top 5 as well. So
wow,
really liked his play for sure. If the Sharks wanted to take a power forward net front kind of guy,
oh yeah, Mike Grisman looking for that forever.
Yeah.
Is he physical at all?
Yeah, for sure. Very physical. Yeah. Boxes out. He's like, but he has great hands too, and he's a good skater. And yeah, it's rare to find that kind of like complete player. I think he does it. He's very net front focused. He doesn't seem to be really a threat from like range at all. But he I like the way that he plays a lot. So
he sounds a little bit like this draft's Porter Martone.
Porter
Martone's a good hands, good size.
Yeah, I think like a little less of a playmaker, more of a like I said, like net front physical guy, nice. But more of a power forward. But I do, and Martone was obviously heralded as like this power forward, but I think even he's not like that physical. Like he's physical, but like it's
inconsistent.
Like, inconsistent.
Yeah.
So I really liked his play. Daxon Rudolph is a offensive defenseman that's gotten some like top 15 accolades or so. And I thought he was okay. I think there's still a lot of inconsistencies with his play defensively. He reminds me of, for like a throwback name, of like Sami Vatanen. If you ever remember watching Sami Vatanen play, like you're frustrated sometimes, but he does some stuff that you're like, yeah, all right, that's good.
I'm just trying to figure out what a Daxon is. So.
A Daxon Rudolph? I don't know. But he has a lot of skill, great wrist shot. Like I said, if we're looking for a defenseman, this might be the year to grab that right side defenseman, because you've got 3 really good defensemen in Ryan Lynn, Daxon Rudolph, and Keaton Verhoeff, for sure. Just depends on what you like, right? Like Lynn probably goes last out of those 3 just because he's like 5'11", 6 foot, whereas Daxon Rudolph 6'2", Keaton Verhoeff is a monster. So yeah, but that's my initial read on just a few of the guys from this upcoming draft class.
Yeah, it sounds like it's shaping up a little bit like the 2024 draft and all those defensemen that went there, except that you have more righties here, which is nice.
Yeah, it's rare to have this many like righties up at the top. Like you were saying,
it's one of those things where probably like everybody knows that like if you want to make it an NHL, like you teach your kids to play right-handed. Like, hey, this is the way. Just like teaching your kids to throw a baseball left-handed or pitch left-handed. So that's like 100%. Everyone knows.
Yeah, we're getting the downstream effects of that, right?
Maybe, yeah. Maybe. But all right, Keegan, I want to put you on the spot then. So at Post-Hlinka, who is your top 5 2026 draft right now? Obviously, including McKenna, even though he wasn't in the tourney. But who? This is really early, but who is your top 5 at the moment?
Super early. Gavin McKenna, Keaton Verhoeff.
1, 2, yeah.
1, 2. I would put Ivar Stenberg 3. He was in the World Junior Summer Showcase, and he looked amazing. Tell
us more about him.
He's if you pictured like smooth, good puck handling, good playmaker Swede, that's him. Like kind of your William Eklund, but a little bit. He's like 6-footish. He's not big. His brother Otto Sundberg was drafted, I think, at the end of the first round.
Yes.
A couple years ago, 23 maybe.
Yeah. Maybe Nashville. Yeah, I think. I don't know.
Or St. Louis.
St. Louis. Yeah. Maybe St. Louis. I think you're right, actually. Yeah.
I think he's going to be in the consideration for top 5. I'd put Belchats at 4. He was a monster. And then Mathis Preston, probably 5. And Preston was another forward for Canada that definitely stood out. Great hands, super creative playmaker. He's also got he's got a great shot as well. He's kind of like a dual threat guy. Good player. I'm only talking about Canadians because like I said, the Canadians brought like their A team. It seemed like, but a couple guys from USA stood out too. Jack Hextall, which it's like a great last name. Turns out he's not related to the Hextalls, but
really,
it's like, yeah, I thought he was.
Crazy.
It's like, Hextall, and he's a great hockey player.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, he's definitely related to them, but Elite Prospect says no. So
okay,
they typically know these things too.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
He stood out as well. Just a 200-foot player. Noticed him most of the times that he was on the ice. Good playmaker. Lots of defensive habits that were really good. So I liked his game.
Interesting. Your top 5. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just saying your top 5 is even though you like a lot of defensemen in this draft, that it's still very forward heavy. You have 4 of your top 5 right now. They're forwards.
Yeah.
And how many of them are centers?
Like none.
Yeah, that's that's what I thought. I was serious.
I think Preston plays center. Yeah. McKenna's a left wing. Stenberg is a winger.
Interesting. Okay.
So there probably will be a center that like comes out into this crop.
Right.
Rubrook is another one that wasn't there for this tournament, but is a frequently listed in the top 5. 6'4" center. That's always wanted in the NHL. So I haven't watched much of him yet, though. So I've got to get some tape on him. But I think Ryan Lynn and Daxton Rudolph end up going right in that like 5 to 10 range right after that. So, but we'll see. Maybe Ryan Lynn, like, even though he's tiny, there's just so much NHL qualities to his game that he could sneak in there too. He's just a very solid hockey player, super advanced defensively for somebody so young. You look at him and you're like, you understand it, you get it. In a way that's kind of rare for defensemen these days. Most of the time they do not get it defensively. They get the offense, but they do not get the defense.
Yeah.
But
do you have a comp for Ryan Lynn?
Yeah, that was the one I was like, Vlasic would be he's not a lefty like Vlasic is, but that would be just a solid 2-way defenseman. Good. Like, obviously Vlasic's like the creme de la creme of defensive defenseman, right? Or defense from a 2-way defenseman. But yeah, that's who I would say is like the ceiling for him.
Any comp like closer to his size? Like 5'11"?
Yeah, that's tough, right?
I'm like, who's a really good smaller defenseman? Yeah, I'm not sure.
I think with the
Vlasic comp, maybe
though,
isn't Taves kind of tiny?
Yeah, that Taves is, yeah.
Yeah, so maybe Devin Taves is a good one too.
But I was thinking back to Vlasic's rookie season, and he's 19, and he's unusually strong for a 19-year-old.
Yeah.
And that was kind of a separating factor for Vlasic, that to have really one of the great rookie seasons in recent NHL history. Very underrated. Here's a guy that's 19, second-round pick, playing 22-plus minutes a night on a Stanley Cup contender. That just 19-year-olds rarely do that. That doesn't happen, right, for a cup contender. So anyway, yeah. So
you just need to be. He's like, and he's very mobile defenseman too. Ryan Lynn is. He's got great edges, great mobility. So I think that stands out for his game as well.
Does he have an unusual strength for his kind of his size though? That would be.
Yeah, I'll have to watch more. I'm not sure. Like, he's definitely not getting bodied for sure, but I'll have to see if that's a good thing to try and single out and see if he can stand out in that way. Yeah, I like this draft. I really do. I think it gives me a little bit more excitement than last year's draft. Not that it was like a bad draft, but like watching these guys, there's these like things fit a little bit more, right? Like you've got your Keaton Verhoeff, you've got your Gavin McKenna, Stenberg looks great. Like things like the guys that are at the very top just fit a little bit more, and there's less questions, I think, with them than last year's, where it was like last year, you're wondering, is Porter Martone gonna pick his feet up a little bit more and get more physical? That kind of thing. There's more questions with those guys in the top 5. And Martone didn't go top 5, but it just seemed like there was a lot more question marks at the top end of the draft. So I'm super pumped. I'm going to be hopefully getting into some scouting work this season to let you all know and have some updates for you this upcoming season.
That's exciting. That's really exciting. Hopefully another high pick.
Yeah, or not, right? Like if we're, if we're good enough and none of this matters, we'll just take somebody in the.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
They won't.
We trade the first for some playoff push help. Like we gotta.
That will be the day. So
that's the day, right? That's pie in the sky thinking.
Yeah.
Jeff Skinner puts in 40 goals, 30 goals. Kurashev is a 50-point player. Yeah, down the line, Dmitry Orlov is Dmitry Orlov from 2018.
Muka Medulin's Marc-Édouard Vlasic.
Yeah.
Godet power play specialist. Yeah.
John Klingberg has got 85 points.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, that's a good transition to the big conversation for today.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Let's see what, sort of the 3 of the core pieces for the Sharks have been working on with Celebrini, Smith, and Eklund. So, Sheng, let's start on what you were able to find, starting with Celebrini.
Yep. And we're also going to do kind of a rapid fire points predictions for next year. I actually already did an article on it, kind of expectations for the young Sharks, but we also will get to hear what Keegan and Zubair think of that part of it. But anyway, with Macklin, what I've heard is that there's a focus on, and we saw this last year, puck and shift management. Macklin shifts were a little long last year, and granted, Macklin has always been relied on to be the number 1 kingpin guy in BU with the Chicago Steel, and he could get away with it there because he was so much better than everybody else. Obviously, in the NHL, the Macklin is still a special player, but the players are a lot better. And so he's got to take shorter shifts probably. And also the puck management that we saw. Zubair, you mentioned that a lot too, that just the puck management, especially early in the season, was careless at times. Yeah. And that's something that he definitely has to improve on if he is serious about taking a leap as a player and also serious about taking the Sharks to the next level, because you can't be giving away the puck in the neutral zone, blind passes in the defensive zone, things like that. Even blind passes in the offensive zone to that put your defense in a bad position when it's turned over. Macklin was doing that too much last year. In Macklin's defense, Macklin was charged with so much of the offense that obviously he felt like he had to try things to try to get the Sharks within a goal, to get the Sharks offense going, things like that. But as he evolves into a playoff caliber, Stanley Cup caliber player, he's going to do less of that, kind of like a Barkov and guys like that, Nathan McKinnon, that there's a little more carefulness with the puck management. The second part, I think with Macklin that I heard that was interesting is that, like most young players, he has a problem with trying to be too fine with his shot, always trying to pick the corners. And so he's just got to think about hitting the net sometimes. He doesn't always have to pick the corner and go for the kind of the highlight reel shot. And so I think that part of that's interesting because he should be learning that from a Tyler Toffoli. Last year, I did a really story that I really enjoyed about Tyler Toffoli. I called it actually something like Tyler Toffoli's old man game. And basically what it was just how Tyler Toffoli, he's not the fastest guy, but how has a guy like that been so successful in his NHL career? And actually, it was Nico Sturm in that story that provided really great insight. And Nico told me that in one of his first kind of skates with Tyler, I think the captain skates or whatever, Nico observed that Tyler Toffoli rarely shoots for like the top of the net.
Yep.
And what Nico said was then Nico asked Mike Ricci, who was on the ice with him, like, what's going on there? And I asked Tyler about that a little more, and Tyler said that he learned from Luc Robitaille. And of course, Tyler Toffoli was on the Kings, and Luc Robitaille, one of the greatest goal scorers of all time, 668 goals. And actually, Tyler and Luc are actually very, very similar. If you remember, Luc Robitaille, not a great skater either, but he just always managed to be in the right scoring position. His nickname was Lucky Luke. And anyway, what Luc taught Tyler was you just shoot for the edges. You don't go for the top corners. You don't have the time to oftentimes. And so you just have to get it on net, because if you don't get it on net, then the goalie doesn't have to make a save. So that's what Macklin's got to learn to kind of get to that. And this person thinks that Macklin's going to be a 40-goal scorer one day, but for him to get to that level, he's probably got to be a little less fine with his shot, because he's not always going to have time to kind of unleash the laser, right? Unleash the one-timers. So sometimes just get it toward the net, surprise the goalie. Maybe even if that your shot, Macklin's shot, doesn't score, obviously you make the goalie make a save, there's rebounds, then that goes in. So that's a big part with Macklin, and the way this source sees it, that you combine this improved puck shift management, be a less fine shooter, better finisher, less fine shooter. And you add that with what Macklin already has so much of as a teenager, his compete, his puck protection, his puck battle. This is just going to be a off the charts kind of player.
Yeah. And he's already Macklin's still 18, right? Like,
no, he just turned 19.
He just turned 19.
Yeah.
So yeah, like, there's just so much more room for improvement. And that's something that we forget about prospects, is like that first 3 years are really when you get the biggest jumps in play,
right,
after you're drafted. And he started out here, and there's just more hopefully to come, right? Like, the sophomore slump is very real in the NHL, so you never know. But I don't know. Macklin doesn't seem like he's gonna succumb to the sophomore slump, but you never know.
What's your points prediction then?
77 points. Going
77.
With
well, very
77. Going with 32 goals, 45 assists. Is that 77? Yeah, that's 77. Yeah. I agree. I think he's got to get a little less fine with the shot. The puck management stuff, I wonder how much of that is easy to train in the off season, or do you really need to be in the games to really see it? Like video review
That's
of
fair,
this is the choice you made here when you could have prolonged the play, chipped it down, that kind of thing. So I wonder what how you really get better at that. That'd be interesting to talk with somebody about. But hitting the net, right? Like, we saw that from Eklund a few years ago. That was a huge focus of one of his off seasons, was just improve your shot. And that's not easy to do, but you can definitely do it. It's definitely possible with the right training. So he already has an amazing shot. It's just going to get even better, hopefully.
Yeah. And I think that's a really good point too. I think if those are things that he's working on, I think it's pretty clear that that's going to benefit significantly. And I think that with also the improved Sharks roster, and particularly on the blue line for moving the puck up.
Yeah.
I think if he, obviously playing full season, I think he hits 80 points this year.
Nice.
Passes 30 goals. But I think he'll still have more helpers. I think he'll sit in that, 30 goal, 30, maybe 32, but I think he's gonna get 50 assists.
Nice.
I think he's getting some apples. And if he's shooting the puck on the net and not looking for those perfect scoring chances, a lot of coaches in the NHL talk about this. That breaks down the defense of the other team, because it's chaos ensues. And if you're retrieving those pucks, and if he has players to help him retrieve those pucks, I think, he hits 80 points this year.
And my prediction in my article was about where Zubair's was. Really, Keegan's is close enough too, but I'm thinking point per game, which he was close to last year. He had 63 in 70 games. But I'm thinking that he busts past that. I don't know if he breaks out this year into superstardom. It may not be quite this year. Wouldn't surprise me if he did.
That'd be nuts.
Macklin is just a remarkable player. I have just all good things to say about his game, really, overall. But anyway, though, that I think that he passes 80 plus if he's healthy. 30, 50 in that kind of range, right? 35, 50, something like that, right?
I forgot to mention my prediction was in 40 games. He's going to be injured for half the year. So 77 points in 40 games.
You want to amend your prediction, Keegan?
No, I think 77 is fine.
You like 77?
I will constantly just, undervalue him and then just be pleasantly surprised when he puts up 120 points next year. Would not be surprised. Like, kid's amazing. So, but like, you never know. Like Nathan McKinnon, one of the best players in the world. Second season, he had like 50, 60 points.
Nathan McKinnon really dropped off. Like, it's actually in my article where Nathan had 63 points to win the Calder, and then it was like 53, 38, and 47, something like that.
Mhm.
There might have been a shortened season mixed in there too, so it's a little bit skewed. But like, he basically had 3 seasons where it's kind of like, ooh, is he really the guy that we thought he was? And then in his 5th year, he had 97 points, and he was.
If I remember right, those were some really, really bad Colorado teams too, right? Like, I think.
I'm trying to think. Maybe his 1st year was really bad, and then they were starting to get better. But that might be part of it too, though. No, that's a fair point too. I don't remember that part of it. So
yeah, I can't really remember either.
I actually do. I'm going to take a quick look because I think that is very relevant.
Yeah, right. Like, if it depends on how bad your team is, but and his game is a lot different than Macklin's. His game relies on that speedy transition, high octane offense that it takes time to, or can take time to really develop.
Let me take a quick look at that.
I mean, Macklin too, though, off the rushes.
A fantastic player.
Yeah. Oh, no, it actually
part of this game.
In terms of the quality of the team, so McKinnon's rookie year, they made the playoffs. That was Patrick Waugh's playoff team with Colorado. The next 2 years, they were average teams. They weren't great, but 90 points as a team, 82 points as a team. And it wasn't until the 2016-17, that's when the bottom dropped out. Then the Avs were terrible. And they were the worst team in the league, but they lost the lottery, but they drafted Cale Makar.
Oh yeah.
So it was that year. So anyway, just to
maybe he was just out. Trying to be I don't know, because I don't really remember what was going on with McKinnon at the time. But maybe they were just trying. I would love to ask
McKinnon, but he's a pretty
Because it could have been just too much on his shoulders, right? Like they're a borderline playoff team already. Like, you're a superstar kid. They're trying to do too much for Like, it could have been that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I remember one little tidbit that he's talked about during those years was he had to learn how to slow down his hands and feet because he was too quick.
Yeah.
Actually, Macklin has that issue too, I would say.
Yeah. Where it's like, wait, I need to actually, maybe I'm oversticking or, and he had to learn that pace of timing it. And must be a good problem to have. Like, I'm too good.
Slow the game down. It's too fast for me.
I'm too quick for this league. Yeah.
But to that point, though, with Macklin, that's not mentioned by my source, but I felt like Macklin his pace was sometimes too fast for his teammates. And that's not negative of Macklin, because Macklin's pace, his ability to do that as an 18-year-old was incredible. But sometimes he maybe has to make just like McKinnon, just kind of slow it down a little bit. And that will help him too.
Yeah, absolutely. How about his dash 31 from last season? You guys, what do you guys see about that improvement this year?
I think that he tries, right? And like any player, he has to be more refined defensively too. But I don't see that as a big problem because everything I understand about him, he really wants to be good at it.
Oh, of course,
and from the time the Sharks drafted him, right? That's what everyone said, that this guy, he thinks defensively, and he does, right? Even with his puck management mistakes, oftentimes you see him with the puck and he'll make the kind of the play that there's going to be where he can back it up, right? Where he's going to be the last man when he tries something. And so I don't think that's too much of an issue. I'm not too worried about that. The minus 31 part of it is how much weight is on his shoulders on this team. And so I don't think I don't think the long term I'm worried about that with him.
I was saying more so this season, how much of an improvement will you guys project out?
Oh, well, that's hard to say, because I'm not sure how much better the team will be. So
yeah, I mean, I see a lot of that too, is just being able to get the puck out of your zone and getting more competent NHL puck moving defensemen.
Yeah.
Obviously, Klingberg's health, pending.
Yeah,
Orlov. I see a big improvement there. This season. But he's also playing a lot more first time minutes with Granlund out, so that's going to be
I don't know if I see a big improvement.
Yeah,
but
so All right, let's go up next then to Will Smith. Sheng, what'd you find there?
So I talked with a couple of people, and one person mentioned that focused on kind of the aerobic capacity to outlast people at the end of shifts, and just trying to add more strength in general, which is an obvious thing with the Will Smith. And one thing that I thought was interesting that was said too was that trying to shorten his release to try to get less shots deflected, less shots blocked, which I can kind of see that was an issue with Will last year. And I think it's the issue for any teenage player a lot of times. You just don't know how much time you have. It's such a big step for Macklin, for both Macklin and Will, from NCAA to the NHL. So that's specifically something that he's been doing, and also working on his one-timer. And I think other things I mentioned, other things I've heard about Will is playing in traffic more, getting to the inside ice more, which is something I think obvious too for a guy. Will's development track is a more typical teenage development track where Will is clearly a little like undersized, sort of like smaller than a lot of NHL players, like the trees of the defensemen that he has to deal with there, right? He doesn't have that strength, right? That Macklin, that kind of man strength that Macklin had from the beginning there. And so Will, in the beginning of the season, when he was struggling, he was clearly avoiding some of these areas that he didn't feel comfortable in yet. And it's clear that he benefited from just the pace that the Sharks took with him last season, his development, right? And you can see him get better throughout the season. And so, yeah. So I think that's a big part of it. Just his overall, just like gotta play in traffic more, get inside more, and then kind of work on some of those like those small things that we're talking about.
Yeah, I find that really interesting about aerobic capacity, actually, in terms of athletic development. So a lot of it's like VO2 max and stuff.
Yeah.
Did you get any insight on like what sort of exercises or training he's doing?
No, I didn't get specifics on that, but I just think how that matters for hockey, or just your cardiovascular, right?
Oh, yeah.
And that's young players, right? They don't have that stamina either. They don't have that NHL, that professional, that men's stamina yet. Most teenage players don't. Again, I think the Macklin is the exception to this, but like for Will, as like in terms of hands, his skills, as skilled as the Macklin Celebrini, but the body stuff though, that will take Will a little more time.
Yeah. Then when you guys were kids, did your parents ever say go play in traffic? No. My mother used to say, like, if you were bothering my mom, like as a kid, like if she's like doing dishes or something and you're just like nagging her or something, she's like, go play in traffic.
I feel like we need to have to address this specific concern of your life.
But anyway, every time you mentioned go play in traffic, all I could think about is my mother telling me to go play in traffic. I was like, stop bothering me, kind of thing. That's all I could think about. So, Mom, if you're listening. Anyway, that all makes sense for Smith. Like you said, like he wasn't as physically developed as Macklin coming in, and there's more to come for that. He's a great wrist shot, but maybe one-timer could use some improvement. Quick hitting, his release, because he does have a great, powerful wrist shot, and he's very accurate with it. But yes, he needs time to get it off. So that's something that we saw a lot of, and it improved throughout the season. But there's definitely a scorer there, even though we think of Will as a playmaker. There's definitely, like, his wrist shot is high quality, high quality. It's been that way for a long time. Yeah. So go play in traffic, Will.
What I think is kind of interesting here, though, is if you look at some of the things that you were able to find that sort of he's working on in player development, outside of getting to the middle, a lot of this looks like he's staying on wing. Just like if you extrapolate out a little bit, like if he was going to move back to center, I feel like he'd be developing in some other areas, but like working on a shot. And this is like a scoring winger.
Yeah.
Kind of looks like he's developing in the same role.
Battles.
Yeah. I think that's very fair to suggest. Mike Greer said at the end of last season that we're going to put Will back on center. And I asked him from day one, and Mike said yes, but that doesn't mean that's actually going to happen, right? And so we still have the Michael Misa question in terms of will Michael Misa be with the Sharks this season? I expect him to start the season with the Sharks. I expect him to sign his ELC. I know that hasn't happened yet, but that's still my expectation. In this case, then, like, our projections have been for Smith to play center and then Misa to go on the wing, because it's also Misa's first year, and Misa has played a lot of left wing with Saginaw. But most people kind of think that Misa is a more natural center. So could it be that Misa starts at center and they just put Smith back at wing? And it's a very real thing. I've joked about this before, but the more I talk to people, and we've seen it, like Mac and Will, they love each other. And literally, Will's only chance to play on the line with Mac is to play on his wing, because we know Macklin's not going to wing. So
oh my
I think
God,
it's a real thing. It's a real appeal.
I'm envisioning a Macklin Celebrini center, Will Smith right wing, Ethan Belchat's left wing, or McKenna. McKenna is obviously McKenna, so it would be amazing that way. But like the 6'5" monster net front power winger with them too, like, oh, that's a line.
Yeah.
I mean, hell, just
Net front presence.
Yeah, that's a
Oh,
line
yeah.
right there.
Just put Eklund and Macklin and Will, and you won't have the net front there, but it's going to be a devastating line off the rush, though. That's going to be a lot of fun
for
off
sure.
the rush, right?
Lots of offensive talent there.
Yeah. So you might have a good point there. I think that there is a chance, just kind of digging at it, that there's a chance that what Mike says there, it doesn't happen at the beginning of the season. They may conclude that maybe it's just better to leave Will on the wing. He was doing so well there, and try him on center one day again if you need to. But like, yeah. And I know people have asked me this, like, oh, is Will going to be unhappy playing wing? He wants to be a center. He grew up as a center. But I get the sense that last year may have changed that a bit, because, again, he found a lot of success on the wing. He gets to play with Macklin on the wing. So combination of those kind of things, that I think a lot of it's just having success, right? Like you're putting up points at a different position. No one, like, at that point, you're just happy to be having success. You're not worried about if Will was producing at that level on defense. Will will be like, I want to play defense now. Obviously that works for me. If Will was killing it as a goaltender in practice, he would change to be a goaltender. Wherever you're finding your success, you're just kind of happy with that too. I think that's a part of it too. So I think that's a good intuition on your part. And I think that I actually do really think that is, I'm still kind of in my projections, still thinking that, hey, Mike said it, they're going to try it, but I could see what you're saying. I could see that from actually day one, that maybe they kind of reverse it. They just kind of see like, well, his game still does fit a wing more at this point. And why not just make him comfortable from day one of camp? I can also see that they do start him on center on day one, but they really pull the experiment really quickly if it's just not showing really quickly. Yeah, they don't go through like a couple months of this or whatever. So that could be part of it too, that they just amend their sort of thinking a little bit.
Yeah, and I think Misa changes everything. I mean, I think he projects out, from my perspective, as a more natural center. Just looking at what he's able to do on both sides of the puck, and I think if they plan on him signing, I can see where they start with Misa at center. I could see that happening.
I think another argument to it too is that you ask about, or you might think about, the comfort level of the players, right? And so if you conclude that Misa, based on last season, his breakout, or this kind of his breakout season, that this guy is really more comfortable at center, even at a higher level, that's what you want him to learn. And that Will can already play the wing. And now that there's a willingness from Smith that he's happy to play at the wing, which maybe he wasn't happy, maybe would not have been as happy with last summer when he didn't know he could do it, and he didn't, that playing with Macklin had nothing to do with it, that kind of thing, right? But so that Will's going to be happy on the wing, that Misa's going to be happy at center, that maybe you just do that because everybody's in kind of a more comfortable place from day one. And you can switch. Misa doesn't do well, you can switch it up. If Misa gets hurt, put Will back at center. All kinds of things you can do later on as the season kind of develops. So again, I think that's a really excellent thing that you intuited from what was said here. actually will say that like I don't think you're wrong. Again, based on people I've talked to. So but
you didn't hear he was working on face-offs, did you?
I'm sure he is. Again, this is not this isn't a closed list of what these guys are working on.
Of course, of course.
Face-offs too. I didn't mention that for Macklin. I'm sure Macklin's working on face-offs too, but there's just a couple things that kind of stood out that we can kind of include in just sort of the thinking of what these guys will do next year, and that actually gets to it. So in my article, I had Will taking a jump to that into the 60-point range, which I think is a pretty good from 45.
Ooh, okay.
And kind of speaks to his progress last year because he was a night and day player, right, from the first half to the second half. So I think that's the jump that I see from him. I don't know about you guys.
I see 55.
Okay.
I'm a little more conservative with it. I think he's going to crack 20 goals. And you know,
he was 17 last year.
Yeah. So I think he'll crack that, and then you know, about 30 assists, but give or take a couple points there. But I think like 22, 33 assists, something in that range.
I'm going high. I'm going 65.
All right.
All right.
Well, I got to be different.
You're the moon.
I got to be different. No, I think he's his play at the end of the season, he was already like not point per game, but he was like 20 points in 25 games kind of pace or so in the last part of the year.
Point per game player, really, the last.
That's actually a really good point. Yeah. So after January,
with a ton more like dedicated first power play time with him and Celebrini, I think 65. Let's do it.
Okay. And we're actually not being very bold here. Like,
no,
Zubair said 55, I said 60, and Keegan said 65. So we're actually being very, very safe.
In 32 games is what I
mean. Okay, there you go. That's bold.
So, yeah, it's a long season though. You may start out off the gate that they're like point per game guys, and then things kind of trail off. Especially if the Sharks get worse, they sell off guys at the deadline, that kind of thing. So.
Yeah,
but actually that maybe helped Will last year. Just got him more playing time, right? So
yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
All right, William Eklund. What's he been working on this offseason?
Our Lord and Savior, William Eklund.
Obviously, with William, it's been affected by his wrist injury, so he can't work on quite as much stuff. My understanding, though, is he is 100%. So I think he's back to kind of do, you know, what he wants to work on. Granted, we're like a month away from training camp. So the basic stuff of working on his finishing, continuing to get stronger, strength on the puck. We did see, I think, improvement in both areas last year for a guy that of his size, but still just his quickness and ability to evade people. And when you do get a little bit of a body on him, that it doesn't, you know, he doesn't fall over like a leaf. So there definitely is improvement there. And like I said, Eklund told JD on the interview with the Locked On Sharks that he's 100%. That's what I hear too, independently of William, that he's 100%. Eklund was also, like we mentioned on the John Scott show, and Eklund actually has something different in terms of John asked him what he's working on, what he's trying to improve, and Eklund talked about, I got to pick corners better, which is a little different than Macklin. But I would say though that I think generally though what Eklund has talked about this actually a lot over the last year or two, that everyone knows him as a pass first player. And so he wants to be more shoot first to make the defenseman guess more of what he'll do on the attack. So that also includes, obviously, maybe picking a corner every once in a while, just so people know they can do it. And whereas I think maybe with a Macklin, we know Macklin can pick corners already with more consistency. And so then Macklin now needs to go down to just get it on net. Whereas maybe Eklund, he needs a little bit more of that threat, that he needs to do that a little bit more. So there's a little more respect for his shot. I guess that's kind of what we're getting at with Eklund, that I don't think it hasn't developed yet league wide as much respect for his shot. And so I think that's what he's trying to get at. So I think that's kind of the general thing with William.
Yeah, I forgot about the wrist, to be honest. I kind of delayed things, like he said.
Yeah.
He's already had like a little bit of a refining of his shot. We mentioned that, and getting that improved. And I want to see a little bit more physical play, even though that's also improved. I think more, a little stronger on the puck is always going to be good for William. I think he cracks the 60-point barrier. That would be my prediction, is 60 points.
Okay. Yeah, he had 58 last year.
58 last year. I think 60 is good. I think that's honestly where William Eklund lands, is in this like 60-ish point category in his career. Like, he's going to be a good two-way forward that gives you a lot of creativity and everything, but isn't like point per game superstar level. I think that's just like what William is, and we should be happy about it. Yeah. Just my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I think I'm a little. I can really make a point for that, or I can also see a good, really strong jump in Eklund's game. To me, it depends on exactly what he says he's working on and how he's able to really execute that. Particularly at the end of last season, when he was at his best, it was when he would get to the middle of the ice, and he does have this tendency to go wide with speed and then set up behind the net, which he's really good at with puck protection. But he talked about maybe what Sheng, what you said, was being less predictable. I think he was able to do that and just create a little more chaos and not wait for that perfect reverse from behind the net. I think that I could see a pretty big jump from Williams' game. I think, even talking to Todd Diamond, Eklund's agent, on the last episode, he said something that I thought was interesting, which, like, when we asked him about what does Eklund need, and he was like, honestly, just to relax and feel like he doesn't need to prove himself every game. And I think once he sits into the comfort of himself, which I think he's getting to, but also he's always just expressed this desire to be a leader. And Todd Diamond also said that doesn't necessarily mean he wants to put up the points, but every time you see him, like, he's just such a hard worker. I can see a lot of things clicking for him this season. That balance of, let me not hold on to the puck for too long, but let me hold on to it here. And something I've also heard said by Eklund like years ago was like Braden Point was a comp of someone that he looks at. And I see that potential in him still. I can also see Keegan where he's just like a solid two-way, but I can see, like, obviously Braden Point at like the absolute best.
Yeah.
But, right. I don't see it hitting there, but like a jump where he's closer into that range this season.
Yep.
So I'm going to be a little bit more bold and say I could see like 68 points.
Oh, I thought you were going to say the big 7-0. I thought you were going to be bold. You couched your bet there with
yeah. I think that's a good solid, but like I'm not like good solid two-way. Like, to me that's a significant jump. Cracking 20 goals, right?
Yeah.
Right. I think that's a solid. I mean, that's a really good player. If he's reliable like he is defensively, I think that's solid.
I just wanted someone to say the big 7-0 because I think I'm going to be a little more conservative, as I typically am. So I'm thinking like 65. Okay. So we're actually really late. We're like
no 60, bold.
65, 68.
But yeah, I've always liked Eklund the player. I do wonder if he has that kind of, like, we're talking like elite-ish Braden Point. I don't know. Does he kind of settle more into like the 60, 70, like Nikolai Ehlers, like really, really good player, but I don't know if you consider him quite elite, borderline-ish, right? But not quite in the Braden Point, Nathan McKinnon, Macklin Celebrini kind of conversation, right? So yeah, but I think that's interesting though that you talked about taking the middle more, which he did do more last year. Yeah. I actually have an article about that I wrote over the summer. I spent a bit of time on. And the article was titled, I think, like a hard look at where Eklund got better last year, but also what he needs to improve on. I think I put it out in May. I was working on it all year. Took a while with that article, but a lot of good stats to show that he was indeed doing a little bit more of what you're talking about. And I think maybe more will come as he gets stronger and that sort of thing, right? So maybe.
Yeah, I was just looking at some of Braden Point's numbers too, and it's, obviously hit 95 and 22.
Yeah, that's why I don't know if we got that.
But more consistently, like, yeah, I can see it. I can see him pushing. Not obviously, I don't see it as hitting Braden Point, but close to it. I could see him point per game. Okay, point per game. Yeah. At some point in his career. Yeah. So, all right. Well, great little projection, Sheng. Great research on finding what these three were up to and digging deep into some of those details.
Sure.
Really good research there. And yeah, all right. So we got some pretty bullish, I guess, progress in all three.
Yeah,
for sure. I think this
I
is
don't
going to be
any negatives.
Yeah, for sure. No, I don't think they're. I think that just their growth, along with an improve. I guess the defense is improved. We've had it could be said that maybe it's not improved, but
yeah.
I don't know. I think natural growth from Celebrini and Smith is going to carry a lot of this team anyway. So yeah, I see a better Sharks team this year. It's some improved point production from all three.
Yeah, in my article, people did not like my expectation article that so my negative, and it's not really negative, I just think it's a normal course of development, really, is that I don't know if Dickinson is on a team the whole year, on an NHL team the whole year. And so that's sort of my prediction, coupled with our conversation a couple of weeks ago, great conversation with Will Scouch and with Brock Otten, who I've watched Sam really closely the last 2-3 years and whatnot. So yeah, so I don't know. I think just to really touch on the other guys that I didn't ask about, but the other kind of young gun types, I think Misa has a pretty strong rookie season, and not necessarily like he wins the Calder, but I think he just kind of shows that he's gonna be a guy in this league. He shows all the kind of the tools. And then Askarov's the other big one. I don't think Askarov's going to have a great year just because I don't think the team's going to be great. And I don't think he's going to be good, but I don't know if he's going to be good enough to drag the team to the doorstep of the playoffs like Dustin Wolf did. And keep in mind, Dustin Wolf has had, I think, a better team in Calgary, like Kadri and Huberdeau and Uyghur, better players in general than the Sharks have up and down the lineup. So.
Absolutely.
The predictions from the lineup experts of the fantasy website. Macklin 81 points with 36 goals, 45 assists.
That's kind of our range.
And then Will Smith 52 points, 21 goals, 31 assists.
A little lower end. Okay.
A little low on that. Let me see what Eklund is.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm plugging lineup experts. It's like I've got get a sponsorship.
Are they paying you on the side?
Maybe. No. They have 56 points for Eklund, 21 goals, 35.
Wow, they are definitely not bullish on.
Except for Macklin, they're 81 point per game, pretty much.
But do you guys have any thoughts to close out on Misa and Askarov and Dickinson?
Yeah, it's really tough. With Dickinson specifically, what they're gonna do. I think last time I was on, I said that he's gonna stay the whole year. But maybe they do the Shane Wright thing where he stays 9 games, he plays however many weeks in the AHL that he can play.
AHL conditioning.
Yeah, and then he goes to the World Juniors, and then he goes back to London for.
I think there's a very real chance of that with him and Misa.
So, Misa, I think he has a real chance to make it based on what I saw at his draft year. I didn't think he was amazing at the World Junior Summer Showcase, but it's also July hockey, and I think he was injured. So it's really going to be training camp for Misa.
I don't think he's injured, though. That's one. Oh, actually, I do want to bring that up. Thank you for bringing that up. That I suggested it the last episode, but I mean, I just saw Instagram. Misa's still training with a coach in Toronto, so he's not hurt. The Sharks wouldn't let him train if he wasn't hurt. So he had a iffy summer showcase.
Yeah, well, and he sat out a game with they said.
Okay, but a ding though, but it's not.
That's what I meant. It's he wasn't majorly injured. He just was.
I want to be clear about that because a lot of fans are sort of he has a back injury, his old back injury from Saginaw. Why are you doing this to him? Why are you playing him? So,
well, we don't make those decisions, but
we don't. But I'm sure though that if he is training at a regular basis, that he's fully healthy.
He just was dinged.
Not risk him.
What I meant by that is I don't think he was pushing it because it's July hockey and he might have had a ding. So anyway, so I do think that he just based on the numbers has a higher chance of sticking the whole year. That it's easier for him to get into a bottom 6 role when there's not a lot of high octane offense outside of the 3 we've mentioned. Jeff Skinner, Tyler Toffoli, Wenberg are going to be like your top 6 like scorers probably, and then after that you've got a lot of guys that are definitely like 4th line forwards in the NHL. So yeah,
I agree. I think Misa plays the season, and I actually see Misa as the number 2C by the end of next season.
I can see that. Yeah.
I can really see that. I mean, if they're willing to put Smith in that position last year and start it off and work with him in that development and then move him to wing, I think they do the same with Misa, but he holds the position. And he gets better. And I love Misa's game. I mean, he has that compete. He's got that ability. He did so well at center. He's creative. He's got quickness to him. I think that his frame needs to come out a little bit. It's something that Brock Otten mentioned as well a couple episodes ago. And yeah, so I think that development's going to be the only question mark, but I don't think I have question in his ability to play center and like learn the game and develop over the course of the season and hold second C.
And I think he's smart and quick enough to survive, right? That's what Brock mentioned. Yeah, of course his body needs development. I mean, all these guys are 18. Even Macklin needs to, get stronger or whatever. And even in Will Smith's case, right, where he was clearly short on that, but he got strong. He got strong enough to survive in the second half of the season. Not perfect, right? He's not at NHL strength yet, and so Misa won't be there yet. But yeah, I think he's got enough of those other things to survive. And to your point.
Yeah, exceptional status. Like the guys, always been playing above his grades.
I think the one I disagree with you the most on, Sheng, is Askarov. I think he's going to have like a really, really good year. I know that they're a crappy team in front of them, but I just I think this is the time. He knows it. Like this is the breakout for him. Last year he's been an excellent AHL goalie for years and years and years. He was good in the NHL, one of our better goalies. That guy, and competing against guys like Georgiev and Vanacek and whatever, but was already one of our better goalies. I think this is the time. I think he's like going to be playing like 40, 50 games, and I think he's going to be above a 900, which is fantastic for a real rookie.
For the Sharks.
For the Sharks.
Well, I would say that what is your definition of a good season? Like in
above a 900 playing 40, 50 games.
then we basically agree then because
cool.
Like in my article for each of the players that I wrote about, Macklin and Smith and Eklund and Dickinson, Misa and Askarov, I laid out kind of three paths for each player, just 3 comps, right? Yep. And so for like Macklin, for example, the 3 comps for sophomore year were go backwards like McKinnon did, kind of plateau, stay kind of the same like Bedard. Doesn't mean that's going to be that way for his career, but just the sophomore season, right? Or Stamkos. Stamkos took a huge jump. Stamkos had like 46 points his rookie season. His sophomore season, Stamkos jumped up and became the player we basically know. He scored like 40 plus goals, maybe 46, and had 95 points. So that's like that's like he's a star. He's a superstar. And so for Askarov, my 3 paths were Dustin Wolf, which is like Calder contender. And obviously, if he's a Calder contender, then the stats are going to reflect it, right? And the wins are going to be there too, that's why I mean it's going to be hard for the Sharks to match that because they're not as good as the Flames. I don't think they're as good as the Flames last year.
Yeah, for sure.
And then the second path was a Marc-Andre Fleury, and Fleury in his kind of, he had like a trial season 2003-04, about 20 games, kind of similar to Askarov last year. But then there was the lockout 2005-06 though. Marc-Andre Fleury takes the net for the Penguins and he plays 50 games. His save percentage is .898, but it's not that bad. It was a bad Penguins team. It was actually a terrible Penguins team. I think they were the worst team in the league that year, or second worst, or something like that. And anyway, it was Crosby's rookie year, but it was clear it was his net. He was good enough that it was clear that it was his net. But the record was like 13, 27, and 13. You're not going to win. You're not going to be in Calder contention for that. But was it a good year for Marc-Andre Fleury? I would say that for the team he was on, that's a successful year. And then the third path for Askarov was, this is a very far back example, but it was tough to find like a guy that was sort of like anointed as the guy and then had kind of a rough season. So I use Mark Denis, which is really an old school reference, but I wouldn't need to get into that. But basically, he didn't have a great rookie season. The other guy there, Ron Tugnutt, had a much better season. The veteran guy there, Ron Tugnutt. And so those are sort of the 3 paths for Askarov. And I thought that he would have a Fleury-like season where he's good enough where you play him and he suffers the ups and downs of playing behind a bad team and the mental stresses of that. But I think he's good enough that he plays those games, as opposed to like a Mark Denis, where clearly Ron Tugnutt's save percentage that year, just really quickly, was like 920. It was a different time in the NHL, more defensive time. And I think the knees might have been just barely cleared 900. It's a huge difference there, right? So in that kind of like Askarov comparison, that means like Nedeljkovic is like putting up like Nedeljkovic. Sorry, I keep saying his name right. I keep thinking of the tennis player. Nedeljkovic
right.
is like clearing Askarov's play so much that the Sharks have to play Nedeljkovic. Like it's a crime against their team, basically. It's not a crime, but you know what I mean. It's what do they call it for a doctor, right? If it's if he's
malpractice.
Yeah, malpractice. It's malpractice against your team if you're not playing Nedeljkovic over Askarov. That's basically what happened in Columbus. Actually, that's probably how I should have phrased it in that article. But
so I think we're in like this like. Yeah, Dustin Wolf, 9-10, 25-30 wins.
That's like
level.
the high end. Yeah, I don't think so.
Or like 20 wins, 900 save percentage, or like, underneath 900, he's like 890, 888, and 12 wins or something like that.
I don't think he clears 900. I'm sorry, I don't think he clears Askarov clears 20 wins.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
So I don't think it'll be as bad as Fleury. Yeah, because I think the Sharks team should be better than the 2005-06 Penguins. That's a team out of the lockout. But if
what was our record
Askarov,
last year?
The Sharks, 22 wins, 54 points.
22 wins, was it?
Yeah, I tried to forget the rest of the details. Yeah,
Askarov had 4 wins in 13 games.
Nice.
Okay.
So
if you extrapolate that to 52 games, that's 16 wins. So anyway, if Askarov has like, if Askarov goes like 17, 23, and 10, that's a success probably, but that's not going to win you the Calder or be a Calder finalist most likely. So that's on.
Well, I'm glad you clarified it because I had not seen that part on your article. Because I was So. No, then I'm we're in agreement. I think he has a good year. So.
I agree with both of you, but I think if I were to zoom into like the actual games of the season, I think we're going to see some swings from Askarov. I think we're going to see some great games, and then you're going to see some adjustments of, to your point earlier, Keegan, of him being so great in the AHL. Absolutely. But also that jump now might even feel pretty severe. I think just like playing in the AHL, obviously have some injuries, and not really a lot of NHL experience over the last 3 seasons. So I think that jump, I think we're going to see some mistakes, like egregious mistakes made, because he's confident. He's going to go out and try those things. And I think it's the same question with even Dickinson, where it's like, what's that mental ability and mental fortitude to go on? But I think over the course of the season, we're going to see some swings with Askarov, and that's going to be fun. I mean, you're going to see him definitely steal some games, I think, this season. And I think he'll be right under 900 save percentage.
I think that just comes part and parcel with the 45-50 games. No one's expecting a smooth 45-50 with this team and with a goalie that is, up and down to some degree, as talented as he is. So,
he's definitely got like just his play style is he's not the blocking, relaxed goaltender. Like he's aggressive, he's acrobatic, he's like he knows he can make these saves. He just has to do it, but he's not going to be like that steadying force at all times. Like at least not in the beginning of his career, for sure.
Yeah. All right, points predictions. Askarov, is he scoring an empty netter this year?
45 points.
I predict at least 2 shot attempts.
Two shot attempts.
I don't know if he's gonna. It's not gonna be an actual shot attempt. Oh, it will be shot attempt because he'll miss the net. So I predict 2 shot attempts.
All right, that's pretty good.
All right, yeah. All right.
I don't think they're gonna have enough empty net opportunities.
Exactly.
It'll probably be one goal leads too. That when he tries it, the coach is gonna be like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
No, I'm gonna go with 2 assists. There we go.
2 helpers.
2. Actually, I don't even honestly, to be honest, I don't know how many assists goalies typically get in a season. I'm not sure.
Well, the
Yeah.
Sharks, I don't know if you remember this, Keegan, but Zubair, but in Nedeljkovic, I think they're bringing the goalie, the first goalie who ever had a goal and an assist in a game.
That's right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
All right.
it's got some
We got a
competition
real
for
sharpshooter on our hands here.
Yeah, the highest point scorer tandem in the NHL.
Oh, right. Yeah, for goalies.
Amongst goalies.
Finally, Sharks are number one at something.
I'm super excited. Especially when we get into training camp and we're going to start getting like roster talk and all that kind of stuff. It's going to be great.
Rosterbation.
Well, we're already started, but yes, rosterbation for sure.
All right, looking forward to it. All right, guys, good chats as usual, and great time. Let's wrap around in a week.
All right, guys.
We'll do it again soon.
See you, everyone.
Bye, guys.